This episode is my conversation with indie pop singer-songwriter Lana Winterhalt, who has a fantastic new LP coming out this weekend called If and When. I usually record these well in advance of the actual release date of the episodes, but the timing just worked out great on this one, so it's coming out the week of Lana's CD release. I've been listening to this album pretty steadily since we did the interview, and I can't say enough good things about it. It's really cool, and you'll hear a few songs from If and When on this episode. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by our friends at the Park Theatre. Please visit myparktheatre.com to check out all the great shows they have coming up.
Thank you to everyone who supports my dad's show. If you'd like to support Witchpolice Radio, go to patreon.com/witchpolice today.
You're listening to Garbage Hill, Winnipeg's first podcast network.
Alright, welcome to Witchpolice Radio. I'm your regular host Sam, and I'm here with Lana Winterhalt.
Hello.
So thanks for having me, first of all.
Yeah.
And I think that I don't know, before we arranged this, I didn't know too much about your music. I'd seen your name appearing a lot. I try to, as part of doing this show, I try to kind of scour as much online content about the local music scene, whatever genre of music, as I can. So your name was starting to pop up more and more on event pages for shows and things like that.
Right.
But I really didn't know too much about you. I just kind of, upon first hearing about you, sort of mentally filed you into, and this is probably not accurate, but into like folk singer category.
Right.
Because Winnipeg, as you probably know, has a very, very large amount of folk singers.
Yes.
And so I saw the name, I saw some of the shows you were playing, and I'm like, okay, mentally filed in the folk singer category. And then I really probably didn't think any more about it.
Right.
Until we sort of set this up. And I started listening to more of your stuff. And I don't know if folk singer is necessarily how you should be described anymore.
Yeah,
I think I put you in the wrong category.
Right.
So I hate asking this question, and most people hate answering it. But if someone says, I hear you play music, what kind of music do you play? How do you define it?
Right now, I define it as indie pop.
Okay.
Yeah, so I used to define it a lot more as, folk singer. But I feel like that is, right now, has just become a broad term for anyone that's like a singer-songwriter.
It is, yeah,
right?
yeah. And I think that's why I put you in that category,
Totally,
because, okay, singer-songwriter, probably folk, it's Winnipeg.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so even for myself, it was like, oh, I play guitar and I sing songs that I write, I'm probably a folk singer.
Right.
But, the more that I just, discovered other instruments and working with my producer and realizing, the things that are coming out of my brain aren't really typical folk music. And so, I call myself indie pop, so. Okay. Yeah.
And do you think, did you set out to play indie pop when you started this, or is that just sort of the way it's developed since you began?
I don't, honestly, I never set out to create any specific genre of music. Like, even when I was more in a folk category, even that, I wasn't like, I'm going to be a folk singer. I think it was, I just kind of started making music, and some of it was a lot more folky, some of it was a lot more grungy, some was kind of soulful, and I think it just sort of morphed into this sound that does use a lot of synths and some of these more typical pop sounds, but it's not quite experimental enough to call it anything too dreamy or shoegazy or
right, which is
like
the kind
that.
of a thing now in Winnipeg too. There's so many artists doing that. Yeah,
right, totally. So I don't think it's that far that way yet to call it that. So indie pop is probably the best umbrella term that I use. But
the two genres you mentioned just a minute ago, the grungy aspect of it and the soulful aspect of it, that's interesting because I was listening to the I guess it's the single off your new album that you have a video for. I get the impression that despite being, I think you could call it a pop song, but it has a very haunting quality to it, and very kind of almost ominous sound in the background. There's whatever that electronic sound is, it's very creeping up in the background, and it's definitely a cool addition to the song, but it makes it a lot darker than I think it would have been if you'd just done it.
Right.
So where does that come from? Where's that electronic element come from? Because it sort of snuck up on me when I was listening.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, what's this? This is creeping me out.
Yeah, why do I feel so spooky?
Yeah, exactly.
It's October.
I'm not uncomfortable anymore. I'm not comfortable anymore.
I think, so when I was working with my producer, when we were sitting down trying to figure out some of the bigger pictures of the song, we just both kept saying, like, it's gotta be weirder. Like, it's, whatever this is too, like, whatever we were working with at the beginning, we were like, it's too cookie cutter, or it's too what you expect, or it's too, I don't know. So we just kept saying, like, it's gotta be weird. Like, we gotta just get this so quirky. Like, let's make this so weird, you know? So, so many times there was just, like, honestly, just, like, playing lines and then cycling through different sounds and seeing what fit. And then, especially with Dream, you know, these lines that just kind of, are more ominous. It's like, yes. Like,
it's a little unsettling, which is cool. Like,
exactly. Yeah. And I think, like, as people hear the full album, that's really what's going on in a lot of this, most of the songs.
Okay.
And kind of the feel overall is that there's something kind of dreamy and poetic, but there's also something that's not quite sitting right. And, I mean, some of it was intentional, you know?
Right.
I'm an artist, so some of it has to be intentional. I think just playing through some of these sounds and realizing, we gotta really get this weird.
Well, it works. It's cool. It definitely stood out. I mean, it was like this is not a folk singer.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
I feel like from what I've heard too, I listened back to some of your older stuff as well, and you have a very kind of haunting quality to your voice anyway. Is that something that is practiced, or is that just sort of how you naturally deliver your vocals?
I've kind of been trained in multiple different, you know, classical and singing different types of music, and honestly, that was like, with this album, that was a hard thing to kind of figure out, because there's definitely times when I just want to belt it, and, you know, which is where in the past a lot more of those soulful songs have come out of, right? I just want to belt it and shake the floor. But with this album, it was a lot more, I don't know if calm's the right word. Haunting was good, but you know, it is a bit more somber and a bit more contemplative. But I think when it comes to, like, different vocals or trying to figure out what fit, it was mostly just what came out and trying to, you know, use that emotion at the time of recording and going, let's deliver this how it was supposed to be written, you know. But
well, I think that, like, I know you mentioned soulful a few times, and I think that soul is such a hard thing to pin down what it actually means as far as music goes. A lot of people would just go strictly with the genre of soul music, which is fine. But I think that soul, I mean, I think even like a punk song can have soul. I think my personal interpretation of it is if the emotion is kind of overtaking the technical part of it. Like and I think that is what kind of comes through on your songs. I mean, I don't know if they'd necessarily be qualified as soul genre-wise, but you can feel the emotional elements of it almost more than the musical ones, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and even if that's not what I'm going for, like, song to song, you know, I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna write a song that's just kind of neutral and just kind of, you know, just like a cheery song. It always ends up being ridiculously over emotional, you know, me just being a, like, sobby, weepy person dealing with their emotions. So I feel like no matter what I try to write, that always comes through, because that's just who I am. But,
Does that is that inspired by anyone that you listen to? Like, are there other artists you can kind of point to that do that you've sort of maybe unintentionally sort of absorbed?
Oh, that's a good question. You know what? I find it hard recently, and I don't know if other people have noticed this or if it's just me, but I feel like recently, there's almost, especially for female singer-songwriters in the industry, there's almost only two genres or two types of people that you can be. One of them is kind of the sparkly pop girl, and the other one is the sad, emo, depressed, write about my sadness and depression. There are definitely
a lot that fit into both those categories.
Yeah, exactly. And so I feel like that's actually been, like, an interesting journey for me to find out where I fit in that, because I don't feel like I necessarily fit into either of those, but I do have elements of both of them and don't want to be branded as just either, right? And so I feel like There's definitely some of those sad emo girls that I love, and lately even Julian Baker and Phoebe Bridgers and these girls that are writing about depression and sad, real sad things. I don't know. I love anything that's just really poetic, and more poetic than you would expect, or where even borderline cheesy, where the lyrics are a little bit, it's maybe too emotional. I really like that, and I really cling to it, and I think, man, that's real. Like, I'm not into just singing about the, parties.
Checking off the list of the things and topics.
Exactly. Yeah, like party sparkle girl, or just talking about how I was sad one day. Like,
right.
I think I'm just really drawn to anything overly poetic. Okay. So.
Well, and I think poetic lyrics in general tend to lend themselves towards melancholy kind of sounds anyway, right? I mean,
exactly.
Usually when someone thinks enough about their emotions, it gets sad.
Right, yeah, seriously. Yeah, which definitely some of my songs are about intense sadness or people breaking up with me. But
that's kind of like a universal, source of lyrics, right? People break.
Exactly. We all know.
Doesn't matter who you are, you can get somewhere with that as far as writing a song,
true,
right? Yeah.
Or just the loneliness of not having anyone to break up with you.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's always material there.
Right. Exactly.
have an album coming out, which I want to get into in a minute, but
for sure.
you just released another EP a few months ago, right?
Yeah.
So what has happened this summer to make you kind of releasing a ton of music? Like, is that...
I feel like that was like the B-sides that came out first.
Okay.
So basically what's been going on is 4 years ago I released my first EP, and we were living in Saskatchewan at the time. Okay. So I just recorded that with a bunch of friends that had a recording studio in their house, and so we just did it. And at that time it wasn't really in anything. I just had these songs, so I was like, yeah, let's record some songs. And then it was basically after that whole recording, releasing time, I almost feel like, I mean, no offense to my old music, but that was almost like a throwaway. It was like the jump start. Like, it was only the beginning. I just scratched the surface. And so over the past, 4 years after that, I just been like writing so much, just so many songs. And so then just over we just moved back to Winnipeg last May. Okay. And so just over this past year and a half, it just felt like so many things were aligning for music to start actually being able to become a priority in my life. Yeah. And it hadn't been for a while. Like, I was always writing, always working on stuff. I threw out a Christmas EP and a few other things, but it wasn't really the priority. But then when we moved here, started working with my producer, and it was it just seemed like everything was kind of aligning for things to get going. But those 3 songs, I just felt like the EP was Return to Sender, and that came out earlier in the spring, I guess.
I think Bandcamp said it was July.
Okay,
Bandcamp might be wrong. I don't know.
Who knows?
I was listening to it today. So
Spring, summer. I just felt like those 3 songs needed to be out there, but they didn't quite fit what we did on the album. Okay. And so, I felt like they were kind of like, if the first EP was step 1, then this EP was step 2, now this full album is like, here I am. Okay. In the most cliche way possible.
No, that makes sense, though, yeah.
Yeah.
Just kind of testing the waters with the first 2, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And definitely, like, if you listen to them chronologically, you can also hear the sound develop. Like, the first one was really just me recording songs that I had written. Mm-hmm. Like, it was just recording them, not thinking too much about the sound. This past EP, Return to Sender, was thinking a lot more about the sound and how everything plays together, and some of these ominous sounds and kind of like the haunting harmonies and those sort of things. And that was just another stepping block. And now this one is seems like the graduated version of both of those things. So cool.
Had you mentioned, coming here in May, this probably explains why I've seen your name appear more often, because you're actually here. But had you lived here before at all, or was this?
I grew up in Winnipeg. Okay. So I just went away for university when I was 18, but then I ended up living in Saskatchewan for 6 years. Okay.
Years. So you have the Winnipeg experience to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been fun, though, coming back and being able to experience things as an adult, because I was a teenager, and like, whatever, you can have teenage fun anywhere, That's true. But going and coming back and being able to, I guess, even like recognize that there is a good music scene in Winnipeg, like when I was in high school, I was actually big into like the Winnipeg like hardcore scene.
Okay, that's awesome.
So
like, what bands were you into?
What are even their names? I can't even remember their names. Spencer Priest was like the main. Yeah,
I've had him on my show actually.
Oh, have you? Yeah. What were his bands?
He's in
called?
So many bands. Like,
I just remember I still have his shirt. I just remember the tagline: "Drop strings for the King of Kings." I just love that so much. Anyways, so I mostly went because I just loved all the boys there. But right. So I that was really the only exposure I had to the Winnipeg music scene, and so I left. And I came back, and I knew a few other guys. I knew that Micah Ehrenberg was doing stuff. And
he's been on the show, too.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone at this point.
Exactly. So I knew that some stuff was going on in Winnipeg, but it wasn't really till I got back that I was like, man, like, Yes We Mystic is incredible, or Lana is so good, or, all these bands that I just hadn't really been able to invest in because I wasn't here, So, that's definitely why... you hadn't heard, probably hadn't heard my
and
name.
All of a sudden your name starts appearing.
Exactly.
I always assumed, and this is my own biases and everything, that people who were in bands in Winnipeg came through the same way I did, where they were in bands, and then everyone they knew was in bands, and they all played in each other's bands, and everyone still knows everyone. Because even now, I mean, the last time I played in a band was over a decade ago. The vast majority of my friends are musicians, and a lot of them are people I played in bands with in the 90s, or, my bands play with their bands, or vice versa, whatever. And there's so many people who came through different routes like that.
Right.
But it just in my brain, it's like, oh, you're in a band. Obviously, you must have played in bands dating back to when you were in junior high, but that's not always the case, right?
Yeah.
So, what is your? How have you found the scene as far as accepting you as like not a new person in Winnipeg, but a newcomer, I guess, to playing shows here, as an adult?
Honestly, I've actually found it kind of difficult. Okay. I think, I don't think it's because people have been like not accepting. I think it's just because, like you're saying, everyone is a family and has been a family
so
for
incestuous.
so long.
Yeah, everyone's in each other's bands.
Seriously, and it is cool sometimes to meet some people and they're, they introduce you to these people who know these people who know these people, and to see that, kind of lineage within different bands. But when you haven't been a part of it, it feels like, it honestly definitely feels like marrying into the family.
Okay.
Like, it's like, this is a great family. I'm so happy to know you guys, but it doesn't feel like something that I grew up with, because I didn't, right? So I have found that kind of difficult, just to try and figure out then what is my place in the city and in this music scene, and even genre wise, like we were talking about, like, I'm not necessarily a folk singer, I'm not necessarily this and this, and I haven't been playing with a band. Like most of my shows have been solo that I've been here so far, but so I found that kind of difficult too, to be okay. So I'm not the folk singer and I don't have a band, so then what other ways in are there, right?
Where do you fit, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, okay, well then I need a band, so I have other people to get me in, right?
Well, and you mentioned the hardcore scene, which is like one of the most tight-knit things going, totally. Right? Everyone, in that scene, everyone's in each other's bands.
Oh,
and
for sure.
Like, they play shows together every single night almost,
exactly,
right? Yeah, it's super tight-knit. So this is the opposite, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, I think that's been really pretty tricky, and honestly, like, I just, being here, like, my partner's in school and I've been working a couple jobs, and so it's just been so busy, and like, I mean, the music industry in general, but the music scene just doesn't stop, It's it is just, it's always moving, and you really have to be on top of what's going on, and
especially now, just with the internet making it, people's attention spans are way shorter than they used to be, right?
For sure. Yeah, no, we were just talking about that. I released that video on Facebook, and it says something like 7,000 views or whatever. I'm like, that's amazing.
That sounds great.
We go and look, and it's like 4,000 of those are under 10-second clicks. We're like, the internet sucks.
So they were interested, and then they're like, I don't think I got other things to look at. Yeah.
Or they like look for a couple seconds. Ooh, pretty.
Scrolling,
you know.
Off,
yeah. So it's hard to think of like, okay, how do you actually catch people's attention? And it is relationships, right? Like, it is going and meeting people and building those relationships with people, and them saying like, wow, yeah, she's a good person and she writes killer music. Like, it's both, and it's not just what the product is that you're offering. It's making those relationships so that people can vouch for you, especially in a family like this.
For sure,
Winnipeg, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you need someone to put in a good word for you to get you the next step to, for sure.
Yeah, totally.
So as someone who is releasing an album in a few days, in this scene that you sort of feel a bit outside of, what is the process like to do that? I mean, I know obviously you have the music written and recorded, that part you've got covered, right? But in terms of getting people out to come check out your show, your release party, and to actually buy the album, what do you do to sort of attract that locally?
I've...
Or are you still figuring that out?
No, I'm just kidding. One thing that I've actually been kind of working on, and hoping, crossing my fingers that it works. No, I really have a passion for connecting with people who do other types of art, and making it a collaborative effort as well. So going beyond the music scene, I work at the Royal Winnipeg Ballet, and so I have some connections with some dancers there and people in the contemporary dance scene. and just some weird paths that have crossed with some of the spoken word poets in Winnipeg and some visual artists in Winnipeg. And so I've been finding actually that it's not that I'm going elsewhere because the music scene isn't working, but just realizing that this can be so much bigger or not even bigger in the sense of people, but just bigger in the sense of like impactful or what's going on, or like it can mean more if there's different people with different perspectives involved. So I've been trying to there are people involved, some dancers and visual artists and spoken word artists who are involved in the show and have been involved kind of in the creative process of working on the show. So I think that's been kind of cool to see people from these different communities in Winnipeg who really already are quite intermingled. Like so many musicians in Winnipeg are using contemporary dancers in Winnipeg, which is amazing. It's also a great...
Well, because they're adjacent to each other, the two scenes, right? And
totally.
Spoken word too.
Yeah.
They occasionally cross over, but then most...
Yeah, for sure. So I've been finding that's... that might be the ticket. Just expanding it beyond just what I'm trying to do, or and Winnipeg really is, like, unfortunately pretty competitive with all the amount of things going on in one night. There's right? A lot, Like there's always even trying to book a venue for a show is like there's 6 other things going on that night, so you might have to bump it to a different night or find a different whatever, so I'm not trying to be competitive in the sense of like, I need everyone to come to my show. I also want all these people who are doing amazing album releases or big shows to make sure that we're patting each other on the back and making sure that people can go to everybody's shows, or that there's that accessibility for everybody. So, and
they're all probably trying to do the same thing.
Yeah, hopefully.
When everyone's being so polite, no one's going to go to anyone's shows.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're all just too respectful. Yeah. So that's kind of what I've been doing, and I have been working hard in the past year and a half since we've been here to get involved with Manitoba music, and just making sure that I'm doing everything I can to get involved with people and support other people's music, and there's been some awesome people in Winnipeg that have extended a hand to me, or kind of tried to reel me in. So that's been really amazing. So
cool.
Yeah.
I'll buy 2 tickets to anywhere. Please come with me. I'm so sick of these rich white kids talking like they have all the answers. We're all just fools. You ask me how I'm doing. I don't want to scare you. I am starting to understand why people want to float through the ceiling. So I tell you I'm okay. But if I stand tall enough, I can almost see the light. I wrote a poem while you were sleeping. I never do that. I'm afraid if I don't If I stand tall enough, I can almost see the light. And if I reach far enough, I can almost feel the warmth. I think I'm just one of those rich white kids that I try to get away from.
Yeah, I've actually thought it was interesting that you said you do feel like a bit of an outsider, because I've asked the same question to some other people and they've had the opposite answer. Some people have said, oh, they're super welcoming, and I think it's just a matter of really who you're meeting and what the context is, right? Because it's all about, like you said, relationships, and so, maybe that person met someone, just the right person, the right time, right away, and then it was no problem, right? But
Totally, yeah.
It's weird like that, yeah.
And I also think, like, so much of it is dependent on, like, what's going on in life at the time. I would love to say that I am working 100% all the time on music, but I'm just not. Like, I'm trying to pay the bills, and I'm trying to, survive, and I think sometimes I can feel guilty in myself, like, oh, I haven't been making these connections, oh, I haven't been doing these things, but I'm like, well, I also got to pay for my rent this month,
for sure.
So there's always that push and pull of trying to, work enough to pay for your passions and have enough time then to invest in your passions. But I think I've never found the music scene or anyone in it harsh. Like, no one has ever stiff-armed me. No one has ever, like, everyone's been as welcoming as they can be. But at the end of the day, like, everyone's writing their own music and trying to make their own music. It's not in a cutthroat way, but people are working on their own stuff, right? So they'll help you as much as they possibly can, but at the end of the day, they still have to pay their own bills, right?
For sure, and they have the pre-existing relationships anyway. So if there's one opening spot of the show, and someone they've known for 20 years and played in bands with wants to spot, and there's you, they'll probably just, based on the existing friendship, give it to the other person, which sucks for you. But
exactly. Yeah. Or, they have that relationship with that person where they open for them and then they open for them, They pass it back and forth, and that's just something that over time I'll keep working on, and hopefully...
Yeah, well, the more you become embedded, right, the more likely it is that'll just happen normally, I think.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you feel like at this point there are other artists locally that you fit in really well with? I mean, musically, or whether it's them personally or not yet?
I don't know if you know Noah Dirksen.
I know the name.
He's an awesome folk artist. We have all these, like, random connections. We actually met when we were both tree planting in BC.
Okay.
And he was literally, we were sitting on the side of a mountain and he was playing guitar. And I turned around and was like, wow, that guy's such a beautiful guitar player. Look at him. And we started chatting afterwards. I was like, dude, I wish you lived in Winnipeg. We could play a show together.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, yeah, I'm actually from Winnipeg. And I was like, stars align. Like, so yeah, we've just had this interesting relationship over the past however many years where I've opened for him, he's opened for me, and he's doing so many cool things right now, doing a lot of showcases and all that sort of thing, and I'm really happy for him. But we've just really connected, and I'm honestly, like, always on the phone to him or texting him, messaging him, like, hey, how'd you do this? Or what was your step? And
well, it's good to have someone like that you can bounce those questions and ideas off.
Yeah. My producer's been so amazing for that too. Ellis Thiessen, he was kind of in every scene growing up, and he's played in every band and knows absolutely everybody and makes music with everybody. So he's been so helpful in getting me plugged in with the right people and making sure that I'm going to the right things and making sure I'm at those events and meeting the right people. So he's been super helpful for that. But I feel like it's always just kind of chipping away, working at it, and just trying to be friendly. Good
that works
that
though, right?
Questions. Yeah.
What do you think? Just to shift gears a bit. I mean, the album is coming out in a few days. So what who is the audience for this album? I mean, obviously you want everyone to hear it, probably, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, is there a sort of an ideal listener that you can think of when you're writing these songs that would sort of absorb them maybe better than someone else?
Me? No, I'm just kidding. No, I think I have. I always used to make fun of my music that it was just mom music because, yeah, like I said earlier, I do kind of write like the very poetic, borderline cheesy. But I feel like, yeah, I moms used to really love my music, and I was like, thank you so much, but also like, okay, where's everybody else?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I felt like in the past few years, I play a lot to 20-somethings, you know, and usually 20-somethings who are maybe just like one step behind me in life. You know, I don't mean that in like a Yoda sense or anything. Let me show you the way. But I think that's just, where my music kind of naturally falls. I always write about my life experiences or a story that somebody else has told me, and just kind of really like, not a lot of like airy-fairy concepts, very like real everyday kind of stuff. And so I feel like most of my listeners are people who I guess like that kind of more real everyday kind of music. Like I feel like you really have to be like the music is really good, but you really have to be ready for the lyrics. Like you really have to be wanting to listen to music, you know?
Like actually sit down and give it the time to,
I think I'm sure people could come to the show, have an amazing time, and, you know, like the music, like what they're hearing. But I think the people who probably get the most out of it are the people that sit down and listen to the words and kind of take it for what it is as a whole. But yeah, a lot of 20-somethings, a lot of...
Well, I guess that's that's the main bulk of the music scene, too. It's always a new generation of 20-somethings coming in.
Yeah, and they're the people that can go out and
exactly.
spend their money on music and
They don't have kids yet, or careers yet, or
exactly.
Yeah. Do you think that the mom... I thought the mom thing was interesting. Yeah. What do you think it is that appeals to them? Is it just the lyrics, mainly? Or, I mean, do you think you're playing... something in your playing that sort of appeals to an older audience? And then what is that? Like, you know...
Yeah. I feel like that's such a good question, but I feel like every answer that I have for it could sound so disgustingly pretentious.
Okay, all right.
Or, you know, like I...
Well, try me.
Yeah, then you can go, I feel like sometimes... I feel like sometimes my music talks about things that even I don't understand yet. Okay. And people have reflected back to me or said back to me, like, that was so wise beyond your years. And I'm like, oh, thank you. I have no idea what it meant, but I'm glad you got something out of it.
Okay.
So, I don't know. I feel like sometimes it taps into something, kind of like what you were saying before, like about when we were joking about breakup music. Like, I think I do kind of write in a way that taps into those universal experiences where, especially older people who are reflecting on these past relationships or things that have brought them to where they are now. I think maybe they have some more time to reflect and say, yeah, like that really means something to me, or this has meant something to me in the past. Okay. And I don't know. Like,
that makes sense. Yeah.
I think it's the universal experience thing, but yeah.
Okay. No, that's a good answer. I wasn't very pretentious. Yeah. As far as like you're not even sure what they mean yet. Do you think that you're working them out as you write them, and like do the songs ever do you get a meaning from them maybe years later or months later?
Yeah, totally. I feel like there's lots of times when I write a song and I'm honestly like, that's a good song, but what the heck is that about? Like, what is that? Like, why did I write this? Or what is this for? And then there's honestly times, even a couple months later, where I'm like, that song means a lot now, you know? Yeah. So, I guess when you are writing about these universal experiences or like, you know, just the everyday things that people go through, it's going to hit you at different times or hit different people at different times, right? And I have a friend that I was just talking to recently, and she said, man, this song, like she'd already heard it like months ago, but she just told me last week, she's like, this song is just like pulverizing me right now. It's just hitting me so hard and I just didn't. It didn't before, you
Yeah.
know. And so I think, I think music can just weave its way through our lives at different times and become important at different times, and
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
A song that you've listened to for years could suddenly take on new meaning if
Right.
something happens that,
yeah,
the meaning of the song changes to you, right? And for
totally,
sure.
yeah,
For sure.
yeah.
So can I classify you as like mom rock or something?
Mom rock,
Trying to fit you in the category.
Yeah,
to go back to the original question, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes it's like, I used to always joke, like, you know, moms are where the money are. Like, they're going to buy my albums.
It's true, still buying CDs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But
I'm a dad, I buy CDs.
nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I used to always joke about that, but now I love it. Like, whoever loves it, that's great.
Yeah.
And if it reaches whoever, that's awesome. And then maybe when I'm like some old mom, I'll look back and be like, wow,
Yeah.
that music was good, you know? I don't know why
That
I'm
sounds more
talking
like grandma level.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
grandma.
yeah.
Grandma rock.
So what are the details of the album? It's coming out on what date?
Friday, October 12th. So it's a 10-track album. It's coming out on all streaming platforms and for purchase. Not that anyone buys music anymore, but give them the option.
Yes,
you
of
know?
course, yeah.
And then the big show in Winnipeg is at the Park Theatre on Sunday, October 14th, so just 2 days apart. And then I'm going on tour for 2 weeks.
Where are you headed on tour?
Going all the way west and back, so to Victoria.
Cool.
And then back, yeah.
Have you toured before?
I've done solo tours and like little coffee shop tours.
Okay,
But
okay.
this is going to be my first like big with a band,
Cool.
figuring stuff out. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I was gonna wrap things up in a second, but now I have a question for you. As far as playing, solo versus with a band, are there things you can do with the band that maybe happen on the record that you otherwise couldn't do solo? Is that kind of one of the reasons for having a band?
Yeah. I mean, I have been experimenting in the past year of trying to make my album sounds just by myself. So when I have been playing shows, I play electric and have like pads going the whole time,
Right.
and so I've been trying to and looping harmonies, that sort of thing. So I've been trying to replicate the same sound in more recent times by myself, but I love playing with a band because I feel like there's so many more things that you can do, and I feel like there's just so much more confidence. Like, you're just playing with a group of people,
For sure.
and it's not so much pressure on just yourself. I feel like I have a lot more fun. Like I can just rely on these other people to make music with me, and I feel like it's just so much more enjoyable. But
Well, it takes musical pressure off you too, right?
Yeah,
Because you're not just doing
totally.
the music and the vocals. I mean, you have people helping with the music part,
yeah,
so you
exactly.
can probably focus more on
And focus more even too on what I'm trying to communicate with my voice,
Sure.
or what I'm trying to communicate with my body, or like trying to make it more of a holistic thing rather than just like, okay, don't screw up this loop, or
for
like,
sure,
let's just get through this song, you know. So
Well, then if you do screw it up too, it's just you trying to fix it, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just on a loop, we're going, oh shit, oh, shit, oh,
Yeah.
shit, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to going on tour with the band, and hopefully we don't kill each other. So
Yeah, that sounds probably a good hope to have.
Yeah.
If people are hearing you for the first time on this show, what's the best thing for them to do if they want to find out more information?
Go to my website, lanawinterhalt.com, or on Facebook, Lana Winterhalt Music. You can find me on Instagram. I post a lot of pictures of food and my husband and life.
I think it's what Instagram mainly is, like
Yeah, exactly.
food pictures and
Yeah,
random
exactly.
families. Yeah.
Spotify. I'm on Spotify, Apple Music, Bandcamp, pretty much
Cool.
SoundCloud, MySpace.
Are you actually on MySpace?
I sure was. So I'm sure there's still some
I don't understand how
music
MySpace
kicking
still
around.
exists at this point. It's
No,
just
I have
bizarre.
no
but
idea. Yeah.
Okay, so go check out MySpace.
Yeah, everyone go check out my
Yeah,
MySpace.
for sure. The website, I imagine, has links to all the stuff, though, right? I mean, the website would be- okay.
Website is a place to go for
Okay.
everything else.
And then once the album comes out, like you mentioned, all the streaming services,
Yeah.
will it be available physically in stores or anything like that? Or-
I don't have any plans for it yet,
Okay.
but we weren't even going to do physical albums because people were like, don't do it, like nobody's buying it anymore. But that's what I said. I said, moms buy my albums,
Yeah,
so
totally,
we need
totally.
some albums. Yeah. So no plan for that yet. It can be bought through my website if people want a physical copy.
Okay.
But,
And I guess the shows too, right? Would
Yeah,
make
and it
sense
shows.
to do it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if people want to hear more episodes of this show, you can go to witchpolice.com. All 300 and whatever episodes are there, free download and streaming, so you can go back through and, listen to some weird old ones or preferably listen to some new ones, which are better. And you can also tune in on Sunday nights at midnight on UMFM 101.5, and those are older episodes that get a second win. So, I mean, by the time this airs on UMFM, your album will already be well out, and your tour will probably be over and everything.
Right.
But the good thing is someone can listen to it. They can be driving in their car, turn on the radio, hear the interview, and then they can just go right out and buy the album because it'll already be available.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of a cool little bump for each person that I interview, because if someone happens to be listening at midnight, I don't know why you wouldn't be. That's the best thing to do on a Sunday night.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you are and you hear this, it's kind of like, oh, cool. I didn't even know this was, I'd never heard this album before.
Right.
And then you can just go around your computer and buy it. So,
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah, and social media, Witchpolice. Pretty much anytime you type in Witchpolice, you're going to get this for the most part. A couple other weird things, but usually it's this. So, thanks for having me. This is a fun conversation.
Thank you very much for interviewing me.
Right on.